The Great Hall of the Galactic Trade Council was filled with representatives from 100 different worlds. Creatures of all shapes and sizes sat in their designated seats, some breathing oxygen, others surrounded by special atmospheric bubbles. The hall was old, built thousands of years ago when the first species learned to travel between stars. Today, like most days, they gathered to discuss trade routes, tariffs, and the endless complaints about piracy. Ambassador Tavrel of the Morith Collective stood at the central podium. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 yellow eyes that moved independently of each other. His people were known for their love of data and patterns. They noticed things others missed. And Tavrel had noticed something very strange. "Fellow delegates," he began, his voice echoing through the chamber, "I bring before you a mystery that has troubled me for many cycles. It concerns the humans." A soft murmur passed through the crowd. Humans were relatively new to galactic society, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 300 years ago. They were not particularly strong, not particularly fast, and their technology was average at best. Most species considered them unremarkable. Tavrel raised a datapad and projected numbers into the air above him. These are the piracy statistics for the Outer Rim shipping lanes over the past 50 years. As you can see, merchant vessels from the Morith Collective suffer an attack rate of 12%. The Valkyrie experience 9%. The Tehran face a devastating 23% loss rate. He paused and let his 4 eyes scan the audience. Humans. 0.0%. The murmuring grew louder. Delegates leaned forward in their seats, checking their own devices to confirm the numbers. "This pattern holds true across all sectors," Tavrel continued. "Human freighters travel the most dangerous routes in the galaxy without escort. They carry valuable cargo. Their ships have standard defenses, nothing special. Yet in 3 centuries of interstellar trade, not a single human merchant vessel has been successfully raided." A Valkyrie delegate raised a tentacle. "Perhaps pirates simply find human goods undesirable?" Tavrel shook his head. "Humans trade in rare minerals, medical supplies, and advanced electronics. Their cargo is highly valuable. The answer lies elsewhere." "Then what?" demanded a Tauran representative, his massive frame shifting impatiently. "What makes humans so special?" Tavrel turned his gaze to the human section of the chamber. Only one representative sat there today, a woman with black hair and calm eyes. Her name was Yuna, and she had served as humanity's voice on the council for 15 years. "Perhaps Representative Yuna can enlighten us," Tavrel said. All eyes turned to the human woman. She did not seem bothered by the attention. She stood slowly, smoothed her simple gray uniform, and walked to the podium with an easy confidence that seemed out of place for someone representing such a minor species. "Ambassador Tavrel asks a fair question," Yuna said. Her voice was soft, but carried well. "Why do pirates leave us alone?" "The answer is simple. They learned not to bother us." "Learned how?" Tavrel pressed. Yuna smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "The hard way." The chamber erupted in confused chatter. Tavrel raised his hands for silence. "That is not an answer, Representative. The Council demands a proper explanation. If humans possess some weapon or technology that grants them immunity from piracy, it must be shared with all member species. This is the law." Yuna shook her head slowly. "We have no special weapons. Our ships are exactly what they appear to be. Our people are flesh and blood, just like yours." "Then how do you explain the statistics?" "I already did," Yuna replied. "Pirates learned to leave us alone. The lesson was taught long ago. They remember it well." A Morith delegate near Tavrel stood up angrily. "You speak in riddles. If there is no weapon, no technology, then what stops them? Fear? Fear of what?" Yuna looked at the delegate for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was quieter than before. "Fear of what happens when they don't." The chamber fell silent. Something in her tone made even the largest delegates uncomfortable. Tavrel stepped closer to her. "Representative Yuna, I must insist. The safety of our trade routes affects all species. If you know something that could help protect our merchants, you have an obligation to share it." Yuna considered this. She looked around the room at all the different faces watching her with curiosity, frustration, and growing unease. "Very well," she said finally. "I will tell you what I can. But understand that some knowledge brings no comfort." She took a breath. In the early days of human expansion, we were seen as easy targets. Weak, soft pirates raided our colonies. Slavers took our people. We were prey, just like everyone else. She paused. Then we stopped being prey. "How?" Tevril asked. "We made it clear that taking humans came with a cost so high that no profit could ever be worth it. The first few pirate groups who attacked us learned this lesson. Word spread. Within a generation, every criminal organization in the galaxy knew the rule." "What rule?" Yuna met his eyes directly. "Never take a human. Never harm a human. Never even threaten a human. Because if you do, something will come for you. And it will not stop until you are erased from existence." The silence in the chamber was absolute. Tevril felt a chill run through his thin body. "You are saying humans have some kind of enforcement mechanism? A military response?" "I am saying," Yuna replied carefully, "that we protect our own. Completely. Permanently. The galaxy learned this truth 300 years ago. I suggest you do not try to relearn it." She returned to her seat without another word. Tevril stood alone at the podium, his 4 eyes blinking in confusion. Around him, delegates whispered to each other in worried tones. The mystery had only deepened. That night, Tevril made a decision. If Yuna would not explain, he would find the truth himself. He would hire the best information broker in the galaxy and uncover whatever secrets humanity was hiding. He had no idea what he was about to discover, and he had no idea how much he would wish he had never asked. Tevril's personal shuttle landed on a small moon in the lawless region known as the Gray Zone. This place had no government, no rules, and no safety. It was where criminals hid, where deals were made in shadow, and where information could be bought if you had enough credits. He walked through narrow streets filled with dangerous-looking creatures. His bodyguards stayed close, their weapons ready. Tevril was afraid, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He needed answers about the humans, and only one person in the galaxy could find them. The information broker lived in a building that looked ready to collapse. Tevril climbed 3 flights of broken stairs and knocked on a metal door. It opened slowly, revealing darkness inside. "Ambassador Tevril," said a voice from the shadows. "I wondered when you would come." The broker stepped into the light. Her name was Riss, and she was a Velkari, a species known for their intelligence and their many tentacles. Her skin was pale blue, and her large black eyes seemed to see everything at once. She was old, much older than she looked, and she had been selling secrets since before Tevril was born. "You know why I am here," Tevril said. "The human mystery." Riss moved aside to let him enter. "Everyone is talking about your speech at the council. Very brave of you to challenge Representative Yuna in public." She gave me no real answer, because the real answer is something humans do not discuss. Riss led him to a cluttered room filled with screens and data storage devices. "Sit. This will take time." Tevril sat on an uncomfortable chair while Riss worked at her terminals. Her tentacles moved across multiple keyboards at once, pulling information from sources Tevril could not identify. "I have been researching this topic for weeks," Riss said. "Ever since your inquiry, what I found is fascinating and disturbing. Tell me everything." Riss turned to face him. 300 years ago, humans were indeed targeted by pirates. There are records of at least a dozen major attacks on human colonies and ships. Thousands of humans were killed or captured. They were sold as slaves, used as labor, or simply killed for sport. "This is common for new species," Tevril said. "The galaxy is cruel." "Yes, but what happened next is not common." Riss pulled up a list on her screen. "These are the organizations that attacked humans during that period. The Bloodfang Clan, the Iron Star Raiders, the Crimson Reavers, the Void Syndicate. 12 major pirate groups in total." Tevril studied the list. "I recognize some of these names from historical records. They were powerful organizations. They were Notice the past tense. Riss highlighted the entire list. Every single one of these groups no longer exists. They did not disband. They did not merge with other organizations. They simply vanished. Completely. Tevril felt his 4 eyes widen. All of them. All of them. Within 1 to 3 years of attacking humans, I have searched every database I can access. No survivors. No remnants. No successor groups. They were erased as if they never existed. That is impossible. The Crimson Reavers alone had 12,000 ships. An organization that size cannot simply disappear. Riss nodded slowly, and yet it did. After they raided a human colony called New Busan, she pulled up another file. I found fragments of communication records from that time. The Reavers attacked the colony, killed 200 humans, and took another 300 as prisoners. Standard raid. They expected to sell the captives and move on. What happened? Something came for them. Riss's voice grew quieter. Over the next 11 months, Reaver ships started disappearing. One by one at first, then in larger groups. No distress calls. No wreckage. Just gone. By the end of the year, the entire organization had ceased to exist. Tevril sat in silence, trying to process this information. Riss continued. The same pattern repeated with every group that attacked humans. Attack, disappearance, erasure. After about 50 years, the attack stopped completely. Pirates began passing down warnings to their crews. Never touch humans. It became almost a religious rule in the criminal underworld. But what actually destroyed these groups? A fleet? A weapon? That is the question. Riss turned back to her screens. I spent considerable effort trying to find witnesses. Most are dead, but I located one survivor. A former member of the Void Syndicate who escaped before the end. Where is he? On a remote moon in the Outer Rim. He has been hiding there for over 200 years. I have his coordinates. Riss transferred the data to Tevril's device. I warn you, Ambassador. What he told me was not pleasant. I need to know. Ow! Riss studied him with her large black eyes. This creature was a lieutenant in the Syndicate. They captured a human transport ship carrying 43 passengers. Standard capture, standard ransom demand, but the humans did not negotiate. What did they do? They sent someone. Riss paused. One person. A human male named Do Yen. Tevril waited. The lieutenant would not give me details. He said Do Yen came to their fortress station, alone, in a small ship. By the time he left, the station was silent. Everyone inside was dead, except the human prisoners. One person killed an entire station. The lieutenant escaped through an emergency pod before the end. He saw enough to drive him mad. He has spent 2 centuries hiding, terrified that someone would find him and finish what was started. Riss leaned closer. He told me one thing clearly. He said Do Yen was not angry. He was not rushing. He walked through the station like a man taking a casual stroll, and everyone who tried to stop him died. Tevril stood up abruptly. His legs felt weak. There is more, Riss said. I found a partial recording from that night. Station security footage. Most of it was corrupted, but some fragments survived. Show me. Ambassador, I have seen many terrible things in my long life. This recording disturbed me more than anything I have ever witnessed. Show me, Tevril repeated. Riss nodded and transferred the file to his device. Tevril left the gray zone that night, with more questions than answers. But he had the recording, and he had the coordinates of the surviving witness. He did not watch the recording during his journey home. Something told him to wait until he was somewhere safe. Somewhere he could process what he was about to see. When he finally pressed play in his private quarters, he understood why Riss had been afraid, and he understood why the galaxy had learned to leave humans alone. The recording was old. The image quality was poor, damaged by time and whatever had corrupted the original files. But what remained was clear enough to see. Clear enough to understand. Clear enough to never forget. Tevril sat alone in his quarters aboard his personal ship. All lights were off except the glow from the screen in front of him. His four eyes were locked on the footage, unable to look away. The video showed a corridor inside what had once been the Void Syndicate's main fortress. Emergency lights flashed red. Alarms screamed in the background. Bodies were scattered across the floor, some in pieces, some twisted into shapes that should not be possible. The walls were covered in marks that looked like something had been thrown against them with a tremendous force. Then a figure walked into view. He was human. Average height. Black hair. Simple clothing, with no armor, no helmet, nothing that looked like protection. He moved slowly, stepping over the dead bodies as if they were rocks in a garden. His face was calm. Not angry. Not excited. Just calm. This was Doyen, the one Riss had mentioned. The one who had come for the prisoners. A group of pirates appeared at the end of the corridor. 5 of them, heavily armed, wearing combat suits designed to stop most weapons. They opened fire immediately. Energy blasts filled the narrow space with deadly light. Doyen did not dodge. He did not take cover. He simply walked forward. The blasts should have killed him. They should have torn through his body and left nothing behind. Instead, they seemed to bend around him, missing him by inches, striking the walls and ceiling instead. It was as if the universe itself refused to let anything touch him. Tevril leaned closer to the screen, his heart's beating fast. Doyen reached the first pirate. His hand moved, a simple gesture that looked almost gentle. The pirate flew backward with such speed that he became a blur. The impact against the far wall was heard clearly through the recording. The body did not get up. The second pirate tried to run. Dojan pointed at him. The pirate collapsed, his limbs bending in directions that made Tevril feel sick. The third pirate raised a knife and charged forward, screaming. Doyen caught the blade with his bare hand, snapped it, and then did something to the pirate's neck that dropped him instantly. The fourth and fifth pirates fell without Doyen even touching them. They simply crumpled to the ground, their bodies limp. Their lives ended by something invisible. The entire fight lasted less than 10 seconds. Doyen continued walking. The recording jumped to another section of the station. This appeared to be a command center. More bodies. More destruction. Standing in the middle of the room was the largest creature Tevril had ever seen. It must have been the Syndicate's warlord. The being was enormous, covered in natural armor plating that had been enhanced with metal implants. Cybernetic weapons were built into its arms. This was clearly someone designed for war, someone who had killed thousands. The warlord roared and charged at Doyen. Tevril did not see what happened next. The recording glitched, showing only fragments. A flash of movement. A sound like thunder. Then stillness. When the image cleared, the warlord was dead. Not just dead, destroyed. Its massive body had been torn apart as if it were made of paper. The cybernetic arms were scattered across the room. The head was nowhere to be seen. Du-Hyun stood in the same spot, his clothing unstained. His expression unchanged. He checked something on his wrist device, nodded to himself, and walked out of frame. The recording jumped again. This time it showed a holding cell. Behind thick bars, huddled together in fear, were the human prisoners. 43 people of all ages. Men, women, children. They had been captured weeks ago and were waiting to be sold as slaves. The cell door opened. Doyen stepped inside. The prisoners screamed at first, terrified by what they had heard happening throughout the station. But Doyen raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. "Is okay," he said. His voice was soft, gentle, completely different from the silent killer who had walked through the station. "I am here to take you home." A child, maybe 7 years old, stepped forward hesitantly. "Are you here to save us?" Doyen knelt down to the child's level. "Yes, you are safe now. No one will ever hurt you again." He picked up the child carefully and turned to the other prisoners. "Follow me. Stay close. Do not look at anything you see in the hallways." The recording ended there. Tevril sat in darkness for a long time after the video finished. His 4 eyes stared at the blank screen, His mind struggled to accept what he had witnessed. One human. One ordinary-looking human. He had walked into a fortress filled with armed criminals and destroyed everyone inside. Not with an army. Not with advanced weapons. Just himself. How was this possible? Tevril thought about the council meeting. He thought about Yuna's calm smile. She had known. She had known exactly what humanity was capable of, and she had said nothing. Why would she? Some secrets were worth keeping. He understood now why pirates avoided humans. It was not superstition. It was survival instinct. Somewhere in the galaxy, there were more people like Do-Yan. People who could do what he did. People who would come if you touched their kind, never take a human, never harm a human. The rule made perfect sense now, but Tevril needed to know more. He needed to understand what Do-Yan was. How he could do these things. Were there others like him? How many? He set course for the coordinates Riss had given him. The moon, where the last survivor of the Void Syndicate was hiding. The lieutenant who had escaped that night and spent 2 centuries in fear. Perhaps he could provide answers. Perhaps he could explain what kind of creatures humans truly were, as his ship jumped to faster than light speed. Tevril wondered if he really wanted to know the truth. Some knowledge, as Yuna had warned, brought no comfort. But it was too late to turn back now. The moon was gray and lifeless. No atmosphere. No cities. No reason for anyone to come here, unless they were hiding from something very dangerous. Tevril's shuttle landed near a small underground shelter dug into the rock. This was where the last survivor of the Void Syndicate had spent 200 years in fear. Tevril walked to the shelter entrance alone. His bodyguards waited at the ship. Something told him this conversation needed to be private. The door opened before he could knock. Inside was a creature that looked more dead than alive. He had once been a Tauren, a species known for their size and strength. But time and terror had changed him. His skin was gray and thin. His eyes were hollow. 2 of his arms were missing, replaced by cheap mechanical substitutes. He moved like someone who expected death to find him at any moment. "Ambassador," the creature said. His voice was barely a whisper. "Riss told me you would come. My name is Varn. I am what remains of the Void Syndicate." Tevril entered the small shelter. It was bare, containing only a bed, a food processor, and walls covered with security screens showing the empty landscape outside. "You were watching for something," Tevril observed. "For them, for the humans, I know they will find me eventually. They always find everyone." Varn sat down heavily, his mechanical arms clicking. "But you want to know what happened? Everyone does. And I have kept silent for so long." "Right. I saw a recording," Tevril said. "From the night your fortress fell." Varn laughed bitterly. "Then you saw him, Do-Yan, the one they sent. What was he? How could one human do what he did?" Varn was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was even softer than before. "The humans have a program. They do not speak of it publicly. No species outside their own was supposed to know, but we found out in the end, when it was too late." He looked at Tevril with dead eyes. "They call them retrievers." Tevril remembered the word from Riss's briefing. "Explain." "When humans first came to the galaxy, they were weak. They knew they were weak. They could not build fleets large enough to protect every colony, every ship, every citizen. So they found another way." Varn paused to catch his breath. "They created the retrievers. Special humans, selected from birth, trained in secret locations, enhanced through methods no one understands. Enhanced how? I do not know the details. No one does. But the results speak for themselves." Varn gestured at his missing arms. "I lost these trying to escape from Do-Yan. He was not even looking at me. I was collateral damage. Something in the way." Tevril processed this information. "How many retrievers are there?" "No one knows. Maybe 100. Maybe 1,000. Humans guard this secret carefully. What matters is that there are enough." Varn leaned forward. "Listen to me, Ambassador. The retrievers do not just rescue prisoners. That would be simple. That would be understandable. What they do is much worse. What do you mean? When humans are taken, the retrievers come. They free the prisoners. Then they hunt down everyone involved in the capture. Everyone, not just the pirates who did the taking. The information brokers who sold the location, the buyers who showed interest, the supply ships that fueled the pirate vessels. Every link in the chain is tracked and destroyed. Varn stood up and paced nervously. The Void Syndicate had thousands of members spread across dozens of systems. Doyen alone could not have killed them all. But he did not need to. He destroyed our leadership, our command structure, our records. Then other retrievers came. One by one, they found every remaining member. It took 11 months to erase us completely, but they did it. Every single person who had any connection to those 43 prisoners died. Tevril felt cold. That is genocide. No. Genocide is killing innocent people. We were not innocent. We knew the risks when we took those humans. We just did not believe the stories. Varn sat back down. The stories were true. Every single one. But why go so far? Why not just rescue the prisoners and leave? Varn looked at him as if he were a child who did not understand simple mathematics. Because fear is the only thing that works in this galaxy. Humans learned that lesson early. If they only rescued prisoners, pirates would keep trying. The reward would still be worth the risk. But if every attack leads to complete destruction, no one attacks. Ever. The humans understood this truth better than any species before them. Tevril thought of the council meeting. He thought of Representative Yuna's words. We protect our own. Completely. Permanently. I need to report this to the council, he said. Varn laughed again, the sound hollow and empty. Go ahead. Tell them everything. It will change nothing. The criminal underworld already knows. Government suspect. But no one talks about it openly, because no one wants to remind the humans that they know. Why not? Because the retrievers do not only punish those who take humans, they punish those who help others take humans. Those who share information that leads to humans being taken. Varn's voice dropped to barely audible. If the council makes this knowledge public, they teach criminals how humans protect themselves. The retrievers might see that as a threat. Tevril understood suddenly. The silence around this topic was not ignorance. It was survival. What would you tell the galaxy if you could? He asked. Varn thought for a long time before answering. I would tell them what I tell myself every day. Humans are not the strongest species. They are not the smartest. They are not the most advanced. But they are the most devoted. Their love for each other has no limits. Their willingness to protect their own has no boundaries. He looked directly at Tevril. Do not test that devotion. Do not challenge that love. Because if you do, something will come for you. And it will not stop. It will never stop. It will chase you to the edge of the universe and beyond. It will find you no matter where you hide. And when it does, you will wish you had never been born. Tevril left the moon with the weight of terrible knowledge pressing down on him. He called an emergency session of the council. The galaxy needed to know the truth. The council chamber was more crowded than it had been in decades. News of Tevril's investigation had spread quickly. Representatives from every member species filled the seats, eager to hear what the Morath ambassador had discovered. Tevril stood at the central podium and told them everything. The vanished pirate organizations, the retrievers, the recording of Dojan walking through a fortress of death, the testimony of the last survivor. He spared no detail, held nothing back. When he finished, the chamber was silent. Representative Yuna sat in her usual seat, watching with that same calm expression she always wore. She did not look surprised. She did not look worried. She simply waited. A Valkyrie delegate finally spoke. This is impossible. No species could maintain such a program without others knowing. The logistics alone would require massive resources. And yet the evidence supports it, Tevril replied. Every pirate organization that attacked humans is gone. Every single one. This is not coincidence. If this is true, said a Tauran representative nervously, Then humans have been hiding weapons-grade operatives in violation of at least 17 treaties. All eyes turned to Yun. She stood slowly and walked to the podium. Tevrel stepped aside to give her space. For a long moment, she said nothing. She simply looked around the room at all the different faces watching her. Ambassador Tevrel has done thorough work, she finally said. Most of what he has shared is accurate. The chamber erupted in shocked noise. Delegates shouted questions. Some demanded explanations. Others called for sanctions against humanity. Yuna raised her hand and waited for silence. You ask if we have retrievers? Yes. You ask if they do what Ambassador Tevrel described? Yes. You ask if this violates your treaties? She paused. Probably. We stopped caring about your treaties when your treaties failed to protect our people. This is an outrage, a delegate shouted. You admit to running assassination programs? I admit to protecting our own, Yuna replied calmly. Every species in this chamber does the same in their own way. The Tauren keep warrior castes. The Valkyrie maintain intelligence networks. The Morith build surveillance systems that span entire sectors. We all protect what matters to us. She let her words settle. The only difference is that humans found a method that actually works. Pirates do not attack our ships because they know the cost. Slavers do not take our people because they know the consequence. We did not create the violence in this galaxy. We simply learned to end it when it touches us. Tevrel spoke up. But complete destruction? Killing everyone connected to an attack? That goes beyond protection. That is vengeance. Yuna looked at him directly. Is it? Tell me, Ambassador, if we simply rescued prisoners and left, would pirates stop attacking? Or would they calculate that the risk is worth the reward and try again? Tevrel had no answer. We learned early that mercy is seen as weakness in this galaxy. That forgiveness invites repetition. So we offer neither. Yuna's voice was steady. Every criminal organization that attacked us served as an example to others. Those examples were harsh. They were permanent, and they worked. 300 years without a successful attack. 300 years of our people traveling safely. Can any other species claim the same? The chamber was quiet. Yuna continued. We do not seek conflict. We do not expand aggressively. We do not threaten anyone who leaves us alone. All we ask is that our people be safe. The rules are simple. Leave humans alone, and the retrievers never come for you. It costs nothing to follow these rules. It costs everything to break them. She returned to her seat. The council debated for hours after that. Some species demanded action against humanity. Others quietly admitted that they wished they had similar programs. In the end, nothing changed. No sanctions were passed. No treaties were enforced. The humans were too integrated into galactic trade to punish effectively and truthfully. Most delegates were afraid of what might happen if they pushed too hard. Months passed. The revelations slowly faded from public discussion. Life in the galaxy continued as before. Then a young pirate captain named Grix decided to test the old warnings. He was young and ambitious, a Valkyrie who had risen quickly through the ranks of a small criminal gang. He had heard the stories about humans, but he thought they were exaggerated. Propaganda designed to scare weak minds. His crew intercepted a small human shuttle near the border of unclaimed space. Inside were 4 passengers. A father named Guan, a mother named Sahi, and their 2 children. A boy named Minho, and a girl named Yunji. Grix sent a ransom demand to the nearest human station. He expected negotiation. He expected fear. He expected profit. What he got was silence. 3 days later, a small ship appeared near his vessel. It did not respond to communication attempts. It simply docked with his ship, cutting through the airlock without permission. A woman stepped out alone. She was human. Average height. Dark hair tied back simply. Ordinary clothes, with no visible armor or weapons. She looked like someone you might pass on any street without noticing. Her name was Heron. I am here for the family, she said. Her voice was pleasant, almost friendly. Release them, and I will leave. No one needs to die today. Grix laughed. He had 86 crew members. He had guns and knives and years of combat experience. This woman was alone and unarmed. "You are in no position to make demands," he said, pointing his weapon at her. Heron tilted her head slightly. "I am offering you something most do not receive. A chance to survive. Take it." Grix fired. The energy blast should have hit her directly. Instead, it curved past her shoulder and struck the wall behind. Grix stared at his weapon in confusion. Heron sighed softly. "I tried." What happened next would never be fully recorded. The security systems on Grix's ship malfunctioned during those hours. The lights went out. The communications failed. The cameras showed only static. When authorities arrived 3 days later, responding to automated distress signals, they found the human family safe aboard their shuttle. Giwan and Sahi were shaken but unharmed. Minho and Yoonji had been given food and water and were sleeping peacefully. Of Grix and his 86 crew members, nothing remained. No bodies, no blood, no evidence of what had happened, just empty corridors and silence. The shuttle carried a message for the authorities. It read simply, "The family is safe. The matter is resolved." News of the incident spread quickly through the criminal underworld. It served as a fresh reminder of the old rule: never touch a human. The warning had been tested again. The warning had proven true again. Ambassador Tevrel heard about the incident in his office. He sat quietly for a long time, thinking about everything he had learned. A few weeks later, he announced his retirement from politics. In his final address to the council, he offered one piece of advice. "I have studied many species during my career. I have seen strength and weakness in countless forms. But humans taught me something unique." He paused, letting his 4 eyes sweep across the chamber. "They are not the most powerful species. They are not the most advanced. But they understand something fundamental about survival in this galaxy. Love, when backed by absolute commitment, becomes the most dangerous force in existence." He gathered his belongings and walked toward the exit. "My advice to all of you is simple. Do not give them a reason to demonstrate this force, because once they have a reason, nothing in this galaxy will stop them. Nothing ever has." He left the chamber for the last time behind him. Representative Yuna sat in her seat, watching the delegates whisper nervously to each other. A small smile crossed her face. The galaxy had learned the lesson once again. She hoped they would remember it this time.